We begin today, Be'ez Hashem Yisbarach, the 8th Perek of Masechet Sotah. This Perek will talk about the halachas of when the Yidden go out to the Muhammad. There's a Meshuach Muhammad, a Kayin that was anointed especially for this purpose to speak to the Yidden when they go out to war. The reason this comes into this Masechta here is Membeis Amar Aleph. The reason this comes into this Masechta is because in the beginning of the previous Perek it discussed all the different things that have to be said, Dafka and Lashon Kodesh, and one of them was the Meshuach Muhammad speaking to the Yidden. Another thing to point out about the things that the Mishnah speaks about here, and in this Perek in general, for the most part, we're speaking about a Muhammad that Yidden are going out for the Shus. When Yidden go out for a Muhammad to conquer Eretz Yisrael, over there everybody has to go. This is a mitzvah, a chayva, an obligation, and the different distinctions that we'll see later on in the Gemara, who does join, who does not join, does not apply. But when Yidden are going out to conquer additional territory outside of Eretz Yisrael, then that's called Muchemes Rishus, and here there are certain halachas. And the Psukim say who goes and who does not go. As we'll see Mitzvah Shem in this Perek. That's what this Perek is speaking about for the most part. Muchemes Rishus. Zok Teilige Mishnah Mashuach Muhammad, the Kayin that was anointed especially for this to go and speak to the Yidden when they go out to war. When he speaks to the Yidden, he would speak with them in Lashon HaKodesh. Shanema, as the pasuk says, when you come to war, when it says the Kayin comes, who is this? This is this Kayin that was anointed for this purpose, for the war. And he speaks to the people, and he speaks to them in Lashon HaKodesh. It's not clear in the Mishnah how you learn it out from this pasuk. The Gemara will explain. And he tells them, Shema Yisrael v'goyme. Listen, all Yidden. Aleivechem, you are coming to fight your enemies. V'lo yalachechem, and you're not coming to fight with your brothers. Right? So in other words, the pasuk is emphasizing Aleivechem, which is extra. Obviously, you're fighting with enemies. Why is it saying that? Because he's emphasizing to teach them as follows. Loi Yehuda al Shimon v'loi Shimon al Binyamin. This is not one Shevet that's coming to fight with another. Shem tiplu biyadam. If that would be the case, and you would fall into their hands, Yirachmu aleichem. They'll have mercy upon you. Kamay Sheneman, as the pasuk describes, when there was once a war between Yidden, vayikumu ha'anoshim asher nikvu b'shemois vayachziku b'shivya, and they captured from the Yidden that they were fighting with, and v'chol ma'rubeim helpishu, and the ones that were not dressed, they dressed them. They dressed them from the shalal that they had. Vayalbishum, vayan ilum. They gave them clothing. They gave them shoes. Vayachilum, vayashkum. They gave them food and drink. Vayaschum. They gave them. They smeared them. Vayan veinalum b'chamayrim l'chol kaishel. And they brought them on donkeys for all those that were weak. Vayavim Yerichai ir atmarim etzel achayim vayishuv v'shayim. They brought them to the city of Yerichai. So what do you see over here? That they were brothers. After all, they're Yidden, and they treated them very, very well. But rather, you should remember, Aleivechem atam hoilchem. You're coming to fight with your enemies. Shem tiplu biyadam. If you fall into their hands, ein merachman aleichem. They won't have any mercy upon you. So therefore, you have to fight with the full vigor. Don't have any rachmanis. Then he says, Al yeirach levavchem. Your heart should not fall. Al tiru, al tachbesu v'goymer. Don't be afraid. So the pasuk uses a few different expressions about not being afraid, as you see here. Al yerach, al tiru, al tachbesu. What do all these expressions mean? Al yerach levavchem. Your heart should not be soft. Nitzalas susim. The sounds of the horses, the neighing of the horses. V'tzchtzua charbois, or the sharpening of the swords. Al tiru mipnei hagofas terisen. Don't be afraid of the trisen, which are the shields that they bang together that make this loud noise. Or v'shifas hakalgasen, or also from the boots, huh? The what? The what?
The horns. Large number.
The large number of the horses that bangs on the ground. It's the horses or the people?
Soldiers.
The crowd.
Okay, the soldiers that refers to, okay. Al tachbesu mikael karnes. When it says al tachbesu, it refers to the sounds of the trumpets that they are blowing. And al tartzu mipnei koil tzvachis. And also another expression, not to be afraid because of the sounds of them shouting and screaming. So these are all these expressions to strengthen the Yidden, not to be afraid of all of these different ways that they try to cause fear upon Yidden. Ki Hashem alekeichem ha'elichem mochem, the Eibusher goes with you. And what does this mean? What is he reminding Yidden? Heim bon b'nitzchaynoi shel basav adam. They're coming with the power of victory of a human being. Va'atem bon b'nitzchaynoi shel mokim. And you come with the power of victory of the Eibusher. Plishtim Bob and its Chainish Goliath. The Plishtim, they came to fight Eden. They came with the might and the strength of the victory of Goliath. What was Goliath's end? The Seif Nafal B'cherev, he fell by the sword. And V'naflu Amai, and his whole entire nation fell. B'nei Amai, the people of Amai, Bob and its Chainish Shevich, they come with the victory of Shevich, which was a general that was hired, a very mighty general to fight Eden. What was his end? The Seif Nafal B'cherev, he was killed by the sword, and V'naflu Amai, and his nation fell as well. V'atem came, but you, the Eden, are not so. Ki havaya lekeichem ha'hilichi machem, the Eibusha goes with you, lehilachem lechem, to fight for you, v'gaimer zeh machna ha'arin. When Eden will go out to the war, the Arain, together with the broken luchas inside, would go out to fight, and this is the kayach of the Netzach and of the victory of the Eden. What's the meaning of the first part of the Mishnah? How does the pasuk prove that the Meshuach Muhammad speaks to Yidden b'lashon hakodesh? This is what it means. Shanema, the pasuk says vidiber, that he speaks to Yidden. And it also says in the pasuk later on that by Matan Torah it says that Moshe Yadaber v'ha'alekim yanena b'koil, that Moshe Rabbeinu speaks. So this is actually earlier by Matan Torah, right? So it says Yadaber. Ma'ala Lam b'lashon kodesh, just like there was b'lashon kodesh by Matan Torah. Afkan b'lashon hakodesh. So too over here, the Meshuach Muhammad speaks to Yidden b'lashon hakodesh. Tana Rabbanam, we learned in Abraise, v'nigei shakayin. The Kayin comes to speak to Yidden. V'diber elam. Now, who is this Kayin? Yachol kol Kayin sheyirtzeh. It says Kayin, so I would think this is any of the Kayinim that can come and speak to the Yidden. Talmud Laima, the pasuk says afterwards, v'dibru hashaitrim, that there were the shaitrim, the police, that speak to the Yidden. As we'll see later on in the Perek, it'll spell out exactly what the shaitrim came and said. But the shaitrim also speak to the Yidden. So now, ma shaitrim b'mimona. Just like these shaitrim, so they are appointed for this. They're not just any person, like you would say, any kayin, but it's the shaitan that were appointed for this. Av kayin, that is b'mumuna. So to the kayin that speaks to the Yidden, has to be someone that's appointed for this. If so, asks the Gemara, ve'em kayin gadol. Maybe it's a kayin gadol. Why do you have to say that there's a special Moshuach Muhammad is anointed for this purpose? Maybe it's the kayin gadol. Answers the Gemara, dum yid the shaiter. No, again we compare to the shaiter, to the police. Ma shaiter sheyesh mimun al gabo. Just like this shaiter, he has someone that's above him, because this shaiter, usually, here Rashi says, the mimun al gabo is, who's the police? Who's the shaiter? He has a shayfet, is the judge. And the shaiter is the one that goes and applies whatever judgment the shayfet gives out. Right, so he has a mimun, someone that's appointed above him. So too the kayin here that speaks to the Yidden, there is someone that's above him, and that's the kayin, and who is that? The kayin gadol. The kayin gadol is above him. So, but the Gemara asks on this. Ha'ike fragt the Gemara kayin gadol nami. This is part of the question. Kayin gadol nami ha'ike melech al gabo. But if so, you can argue and say that the kayin gadol also has someone that's amuna above him. So maybe it is the kayin gadol because the king is higher than him. As we saw before, when it came to Hakel, the kayin gadol is the one that gives the sefer Torah to the king. That's the Gemara ba'avaydasei ka'oma. Regarding his aveda of serving in the Beis Hamikdash, the kayin gadol is the highest. There is nobody above him. I'll give you another example. Ve'em is Gan. Maybe the second that's appointed by Yom Kippur, in case the Kohen Gadol becomes Tamei, so maybe he's the one that has to speak to the Yidden because he has someone above him as well. Says the Gemara, Zgan lav memunuhu. The Zgan is not considered to be someone that has that he's memuna for something. Why is that? What does that mean? He's not memuna. Isn't he already appointed to take over the Kohen Gadol? So the Gemara explains that Tanya Omer Abchanin is Gan HaKohenim. Lamas lemas Zgan memuna. What is this Gan, the second in command? What is he appointed for? She'im ira by psul b'kayin gadol. If there'll be a psul for the kayin gadol, so then nichlas l'mashamash tachtav. He comes and serves instead of the kayin gadol. But as long as there is no psul for the kayin gadol, so then this Gan does not do anything yet. He's just sort of in waiting. But so therefore he's not considered to be memuna. So therefore we know that there's a special Meshuach Muhammad that's appointed for this purpose. And then what does the Meshuach Muhammad say to them? Shema Yisrael, the Yidden should listen. So Shema Yisrael. Why does he open up his words to the Yidden with this expression of Shema Yisrael? The Yidden should listen. Amar Rabbi Yechon Mishum Rab Shimon ben Yochi. Amar Lahem HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yisrael. The Eibusha tells Yidden. Afile like kiyamtem elo kriyashma shachris v'arvis. Even if all you fulfilled is the mitzvah of saying Shema morning and evening, iyatem nimsarim v'yadam. You will not be given over into the hands of the goyim that you're fighting with. As the Maral says, and other Mefarshim say that the point here is when a Yid proclaims Shema Yisrael, you're saying Ein Ed Milvadeh. The Eibush is the only existence. So if the Eibush is the only existence, there's nobody that has power to fight against the Yidden. Al yerech levavchem val tiruchulo. You should not be afraid. And all the different expressions the pasuk here says, not to be afraid. Ton Rabbanon and Abraisa we learned. Pamayim medaber imam. The Mashuach Muhammad speaks to the Yidden on two different occasions. Achas pasfar. Once when they're at the border, going out from their land, and when they're going out to fight. And v'achas b'mulchama. And once he speaks to them when they already left, when they're mamish going into the war. Pasfar ma'oimer, at the border, when the Mashuach Muhammad speaks to the Yidden the first time, what does he say to them? Shimu divrei marche mulchama. Listen, the people that are going out to go to war, v'chizru b'mulchama. And you return from the war, as Rashi here brings, we'll see later, the Gemara is going to talk about this, all the details, that there are certain people that, since this is a Mulcham, which is a Rishus, do not have to go out to the war. Those that built a house, or those that have a new vineyard, those that got newly married, and so on. That's what he's saying at this time. All right, and then over there, the Shaitrim, they repeat what the Kayin Mashuach Mulchama says. And then, once they already are out and Mamish going into the war, what does he say at that point? Over here, he just strengthens them and encourages them. Don't be afraid. All these four different expressions of not to be afraid, not to be alarmed, not to be worried. Keneged arba dvarim, and this is corresponding to four different things that the Goyim do to scare the Yidden. Magifim, they clash together their weaponry to make noise, umarian, and they blow with trumpets, tzvachim, they scream, they shout, and veroimsin, and they stamp their feet to make a loud noise. So you're telling Yidden not to be afraid of any of this. The Mishnah continued further and said, Plishtim bo b'nitzchayne shel Goliath. Plishtim, they came with the power of the victory of Goliath. So here the Gemara is going to discuss this person Goliath. What's his name, first of all? Goliath, his name means Amar Rabbi Yechanan, she'amad begilui panim lefnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He stood with a brazenness, with a chutzpah against the Eibishter. Shenemar, as the pasuk says, Baru lechem ish v'yered elai. Choose for yourself a person, let him come down and fight with me. What did he mean when he said ish? It's an extra word there. Ve'ein ish ela HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Ish means he's saying you can choose, I can fight with the Eibishter himself. Shanema, as we see, the Eibush is referred to as Ish, Hashem, Ish, Mulchama, as we say in this Shira. Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So what did the Eibush say? Hareni ma piloi al yad ben Ish. I will have him fall in the hands of a person that's also called Ben Ish, the son of Ish. Shanema, as it says regarding David HaMelech that brought down Goliath, David ben Ish Efrasi Hazeh. David is the ben of a person that came from Ephras. Amar Rabbi Yechanan said, Mishum Rab Meir, the name of Rab Meir. B'shloisha mekaymis lachtoif piv lo yisei rasha. 3 different times when this Rasha Goliath spoke, his mouth he stumbled. He said something that he himself was sort of prophesizing his own downfall. Echad baru lechamish v'yered elai. So he said v'yered elai. So Rashi says elai means alai. He's going to be over me. He's going to be stronger than me. Ve'edach, another time he said, he will be able to fight with me and he'll be able to hit me. So even though he continued and said afterwards, or if I will be able to hit him, but he started off saying that I will be able to fight with him, and he will be able to fight with me, that is, and hit me. And ve'edach, and the third time, the ka'amalei David, he told David HaMelech, ha'kelev anaychi my dog, ki ataboy elai b'maklois. He sees David HaMelech coming to him with sticks, and he says, am I a dog that you're coming to fight with me with sticks? So again, his mouth stumbled and said that David HaMelech will come with sticks, and I'll kill him just with these sticks. Fragt the Gemara, David Nami Amalei, didn't David HaMelech also say, Ata boy elai b'cherev b'chanis u'b'chidain, that you're coming to me with a sword, with a spear, and with a kidain? So David HaMelech is also saying that this similar kind of expression, that you're coming to me with strength. So the Gemara says, no, but David, Hada Amalei, David immediately continued, V'anoichi boy elecha b'shem Hashem tzva'is alakei Yisrael, alakei marachis Yisrael, asher cherafta. So David HaMelech said this all in one sentence. If you look before, by Goliath, when he said, Im yuchal lilachem yikani, for example, in that pasuk, so he says it sort of in 2 different sentences. He says, Im yuchal, And then he says, Ve'im ani uchal. So he doesn't say it all in once. By David the Melech, he says right away, you're coming to me like this, I come. He says it's one long hemshach that he's saying that he comes with the power of the Eibishter. Then the pasuk says there about Goliath, Vayigash HaPelishti, Hashkem Vaharev, that the Pelishti, Goliath, he would come and stand over there by the Yidden and threaten them in the morning and in the evening. What does this mean? Omer Rabbi Yechanan, why did he come in the morning and the evening? In order to disturb Yidden from saying Kriya Shema morning and evening. As we said before, the schus of Yidden is Shachris and Arvis, the Kriya Shema. So he wanted to disturb the Yidden from saying Kriya Shema. And he stood there for 40 days like this. How did he have the power to do this for 40 days? Corresponding to the 40 days that the Torah was given in, Rashi says the pshat here is that because the Yidden did not receive the luchais until 40 days later, after Matan Torah, so Torah was delayed for 40 days, so he had koyach to stand up against Yidden for 40 days. The Marsha says that the Gemara means to say, the klal that we know, Zelum Azel Salakim, just like there's a power in Torah, in Kedusha, that the Torah is given in 40 days, in the positive sense, not the fact that it was delayed. So too, Zelum Azeh, he had a power to stand up against Yidden for 40 days. The pasuk describes Goliath, Vayetze Ish HaBeinayim, that this he's referred to as Ish HaBeinayim, Imachnis Plishtim V'Goyim, from amongst the Plishtim. My Beinayim. Why is he referred to as a person that's called Beinayim? So the Gemara says a few pshatim. Amar Rav Shemuvune Mikol Mum. He's built perfectly without any blemish. Shmuel Amar Beinani Shebachav. That he was only an average amongst all his brothers. He wasn't even the greatest. He was just average amongst the Plishtim. That's how mighty they were. The Beit Abshila Amar Shehu Asi Kibinyan. He was actually built so mighty, so big and broad, like a building. Rabbi Yechanan Amar. Rabbi Yechanan says Beinayim means Barmeye Papi. He is a son of 100 stepfathers and one actual father. What that means is that his mother had relations with all kinds of people, that there were all people that claimed that was their son. And it was actually only a one father. That's the pshat that Rashi says. Taisus here brings, I think, from another pshat here from the Aruch, that Nani actually means a dog. That his mother had relations with people, with a dog as well. So he had all these kind of very good yichus from 100 people and from a dog as well. Weiter the Gemara says, Goliath Shemoi, his name is Goliath. Where does he come from? Migas, from the place Gas. What does Gas mean? Tani Rav Yosef. The Gas over here means also about his mother. Shakel Doshenes Imoy Kegas. That all kinds of men had relations with his mother, like a wine press. Ksiv, and there's a pasuk that says over there also regarding where he came from. So the pasuk says further over there, Maris. This is the way it's written. It's written that Goliath came from Gas, and then the pasuk says Mimarcha. It's read Mimarches v'karinan Marachis, but it says Maris. What does Maris mean? Tan Rav Yosef Shakoil Harubi. Everybody, all people had relations with his mother. Aksiv, it says regarding where Goliath came from. He came from Arpa. The story of Rus. So Nami over there in the story of Nus, Nami had two daughter-in-laws, Rus and Arpa. They came from Moav, right? And Rus, of course, became a Giyaitis, and that's where David the Melech came from. But Arpa, the other daughter-in-law, she did not become a Giyaitis. She went back to Moav, and that's where Goliath came from. So here the Gemara is going to talk about Arpa, which Goliath came from. Then now in one pasuk it says Harafa, that her name was Harafa. That's Ksiv Harafa. Or Ksiv, and another pasuk it says Arpa. Their name is Arpa. So what was her real name? Rav Shmuel, as they argued about this, Chadoma Harafa Shma. Her name was really Harafa. Lama Nikra Shma Arpa. Why was her name called Arpa? Shakail Orphanoisa Machra. All kinds of people had relations with her from behind. V'chadoma Arpa Shma. No, on the contrary, her name is Arpa. V'lama Nikra Shma Harafa. Shakail Doshanoisa Karifais. That all kinds of people are threshing her like harifais, like groats. Is that what they say over there? Mm-hmm. Yeah, from the grains and so on. Huh?
Kernels of wheat.
Kernels of wheat, yeah. Right. Threshing like kernels of wheat. And we see this expression of harifais in the pasuk. Vatika Chaisha, Vatifrais Hamasach Apneh Be'er. Spread out something to cover a well. Vatishtach Alea Harifais, and on top of it was placed the kernels of the grains that are being threshed. So that's the relations that all kinds of people had with her, and that's what she's called harafa. Another source from Al Pasuk Me'achat says Tichtash as Evel b'machtish b'toich harifa is valley. So here as well, harifa is in the Pasuk means the kernels that get threshed. Okay, then the Pasuk says Vas arbas eile yuldu loharfa, that these were the four that came from Harfa, Begas, over there by Gas, and then Vayiplu, B'yad David, U'b'yad Avadav. And these four that were born from her, they all fell into the hands of David and the hands of his servants. Which are the four? We know Goliath is one of them, but mine, who are all the four? Amr Rav Chizdeh, Saf, Umadain, Goliath, and V'yishbi B'Noiv. And Yishbi that came from Noiv. And Vayiplu, B'yad David, U'b'yad Avadav. They fell into the hands of David and the hands of his servants. The Pasuk says, so the Gemara explains how and why this happened. Because the Pasuk says, and this is when Nami was returning from Moab to go back to Eretz Yisrael. So Ruth says, I'm not going to disconnect from you, and she became a Geyairis. But then it says, Arpa decided she's going back. Vatishak Arpa l'chamaisa. Arpa kissed her mother-in-law, and she left. But Rose dafkaba, and Rose stayed connected to her. Amar Rabbi Yitzchak, Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Eibishter says, Yavoyu b'nei anashuka v'yiplu b'yad b'nei adavuka. The children, the descendants of Arpa, which kissed her mother-in-law, but then left, will fall into the hands of Ros, which David HaMelech came from Ros, that stayed connected to Naomi. Right, so what the Pasuk is, what the Gemara is really saying over here is the Mepharshim Shemir, I think the Maral also says this, that the fact that she kissed Naomi means that she really was connected. She understood who Naomi was and what Yiddishkeit was, and nevertheless she left go. So the fact that she's kissing her and then she leaves it go, that's the reason why she got punished for this. And her children fell in the hands of the Bnei Advuka, which is Rus. Dorash Rave says, but at the same time, the Pasuk says something else, something positive about Arpa when she left. She cried. There were 4 tears that she cried for her leaving her mother-in-law. These 4 mighty people were born. Sheneva, the pasuk there says, and she cried again. So she cried once before, 2 tears came out of both of her eyes. She cried again, another 2 tears. Ksiv, the pasuk says over there regarding Goliath, chetz chanisai, which means the chetz chanisa, which would mean the arrow of his chanisa, or half of chanisai. The Kerinan eitz chanisai, but it's actually read eitz chanisai. What does this mean? Amar Abalaza, adayin la higiyonu lechatzi shvacha shel eiser rasha. When the pasuk describes how mighty this Goliath was, it's not even half of how mighty he was. Why not? Because it's forbidden to speak about the praise of the mightiness of the Rishayim. So the Gemara asks, if so, so why is the pasuk at all mentioning his praise, that he was so mighty? Answers the Gemara, it's only mentioning it to show you how powerful the praise of David HaMelech, that David HaMelech was able to bring him down. The Mishnah continued and said, the people of Ammon, they come with the victory of their general Shevach. So the Gemara speaks about this individual Shevach, Ksiv Shevach. In one place he's described as Shevach, or Ksiv Shevach. In another place he's called Shevach. What was his name? Rav Shmuel. So they argued about this. Chadama Shevach Shmai. His name was Shevach. Why is he called Shevach? That he was built so tall, like a dovecote. That's very high. No, his name was Shevach. Anybody that sees him so mighty, he trembles and he spills out like a jug of water. Then it describes over there about this Shevach, Ashpasei kekever pasuach. Kulam gibaitim. What does this pasuk mean? So Rav Shmuel argue about this. Rabami v'Rabasi argued about this. Chadoma, one says, B'shah, Shazorkin, Chetz, when they would throw arrows, they were so powerful that the arrows, the amount of arrows that they were able to throw, that everybody died. There were many soldiers, mountains of soldiers that died. Shema Taimar, maybe he would say it's not because they were so strong, but rather Shomnim Bekrav, they were trained, they were expert, they were very trained soldiers. That's why they were able to kill so much. The pasuk says no, Kulam Gibaitim. It wasn't because of their training, it was because they were very tall and very mighty. When they would have to relieve themselves, they were so big. When they have to relieve themselves, there was mountains of Zevel. Maybe because they were pashat sick. Talmud Laima, no, kulam gibayrim. They were very. It was a result of their strength. They were very mighty. Amarav Mari Shmami. No, what you could learn from this thing that the Gemara just asked. Hi man the nafesh zivle chayle mayim. Someone that has to relieve himself very often and too much. So that means it's a sign that he's not well. That is something wrong with his stomach. Lamay nafkemine. Why are we mentioning this? What's the relevance of this? Litrach benafshe. It's a sign. It's a sign for the person that he should see a doctor, that he should heal himself. And we finish off, the Gemara finishes off, it brought up this thing about a person healing himself. So the Gemara finishes off with another thing it says in Mishlei, Daige, belev ish, yash chena. That's the way the pasuk is written. But what do we learn out from this? Rabami Rabasi. Chadomar, one says, yes, chena midaitai. You should take it out of your mind. That if you have a worry, so the way to deal with it is, Masir das, take it out of your mind. Another one says, no, what you should do is, you should speak it out and discuss it with others. So Rashi here says, what's the mile of discussing it with others? That if you discuss it with others, so then you're going to get an advice how to deal with it, how to be able to get a teva. Right, that's one pshat. Another pshat that Rashi doesn't say it over here, but you have it in Rashi and Yuma. And then in Rashi and the pasuk there actually says in Mishlei that if you speak it over with others, the very fact that you express it to others and people are listening to you, that itself is very helpful. Right? And so the Mefarshim over here say that even though it seems like they're arguing, they're not really arguing. It depends. Sometimes when a person has a daige, the way to deal with it is to be masir das. If you give it too much attention, it only drags you down. But other times, the way to deal with it is dafke to express it and speak about it, and that's what heals the person.